So Stetson Bennett is the eighth best quarterback in the SEC. That's according to our friends at 24/7. I gotta be honest with y'all. I don't know what to say after a while. Bryce Young is definitely a better quarterback than Stetson. After that, I'm not sure that anybody is, and that's not being a homer. Just go back and look and watch the games, look at the statistics. 24/7, listen, 24/7's got good people that work there. It's a clickbait bait factory. That's what they do. That's their job. I was under their umbrella for a brief period of time, not by my choosing. And I mean, I know how it works. So they've got a way that they're going to make money, and that's fine. I'm not hating on that. But this is the sort of stuff that produces. So they've got Bryce Young at number one, which I don't know how you can't have him number one, and it could be that you'd make the argument that he should be number one in the country. Now, some people would have Stroud number one, and I'm not going to get into that fight. KJ Jefferson, the quarterback at Arkansas, who is very good, and then Hendon Hooker, who has very similar statistics to Stetson Bennett. Will Levis, who's gotten a lot of attention lately. Spencer Rattler at number five. Um, Spencer Rattler needs to play a lot better, and I'm not sure if we'll see that. We will see. And then Will Rogers from Mississippi State, and then Anthony Richardson has gotten a lot of discussion here lately. Um, and then Stetson Bennett, Max Johnson after that, and then Jackson Dart, who transferred from SC to Ole Miss. This is not a bad list at all of of uh, of quarterbacks. The league is really it's not 2012 where you had quite a few very good quarterbacks in the league, but it is a good group for sure. And several of them are different than I mean you can't I mean Stetson is very different than KJ Jefferson, right? I mean KJ Jefferson is a big old kid who can really hurt you. Now he did not play well against Georgia. Um, and Hendon Hooker, he's going to be a guy that a lot of people talk about um, as a very good quarterback, and he is, by the way. He's not he's not a bad quarterback. He played. He had a very good end of 2021, but when you take a look at the two, comparatively speaking, you've got 2,900 yards passing for Hendon Hooker, Stetson at 28. You've got 31 touchdowns for Hendon Hooker. You've got Stetson at 29. Got three interceptions for Hendon Hooker. Stetson was seven. Now in the rushing game, uh, you've got Hendon Hooker with 620 rushes. He more than doubles up Stetson in the run game. Now, both those guys did not start the season as the starter. And Stetson played fewer games like Stetson did not play against Clemson at all. He did not hardly play against Vanderbilt, and he played a fair amount against from the Vanderbilt second quarter on. So these two are pretty well apples to apples. Well, if you've got Hendon Hooker at three, and then you're going to go with Will Levis, who is the quarterback of Kentucky. Now, Will Levis transferred from Penn State to Kentucky. Will Levis, comparatively speaking, 2,800 yards, same amount as Stetson, 24 touchdowns, that's fewer than Stetson, and then 13 interceptions, which is double the amount that Stetson had. So, okay, and us just last one here because I'm not going to do this forever. Spencer Rattler, let's take a look at his statistical performance at Oklahoma. Now, again, for Spencer, he started the season and then he was benched, and he was benched halfway through the Texas game. 1,400 yards, let's just call it 1,500 yards, 11 touchdowns, five interceptions. So, okay, not great. Now, the season before, he had a much better season 3,000 yards, 28 touchdowns, seven interceptions. What was Stetson? 2,900 yards, 29 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. So more interceptions, more touchdowns, fewer yards, same amount of interceptions. All right, last one, and I promise I'll stop. If you're looking at Anthony Richardson, you're certainly talking about projecting into the future because we all saw what he was last year and it was bad. Okay, 500 yards passing, 6 touchdowns, five interceptions. He just was not good. He had 400 yards rushing against Georgia, which is he played really 2 games in significant ways, and that was the Georgia game and the LSU game. They lost both games. He played better against LSU. He was 10 of 19, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Against the Dogs, he was 12 of 20 for no touchdowns, 82 yards total, 2 interceptions, and 26 yards rushing. He actually did okay running the ball, even though he was sacked twice. I don't know. I mean, I understand why folks do what they do. Again, I've talked about this in the past with 24/7. This is their business model, and that's fine. But I do think a business model has got to be somewhat based in reality. Like, I would not have Max Johnson in front of Stetson either. They do not have that. But, y'all, I mean, there is a perception about Stetson Bennett that does not reach the reality. He is not going to play in the NFL. That is not going to be his future employment. Like, he may get into a camp. And some of these guys may be NFL guys. We'll see. Now, 7 of them won't be. And I see Anthony Richardson's name on the list for possible first round guy. You're not going to be the 7th best quarterback in the SEC and be a first round guy. Okay. But the perception of Stetson Bennett does not match the reality of Stetson Bennett. Again, let's just go back to the national championship game. Okay, Georgia, when Stetson threw the ball backwards and caused a fumble, that was a good play by the Alabama. That was a mistake by Stetson and a good play by Alabama. Those both can happen at the same time. What led to this? What led to this? It was 5 straight passing plays. They did not run the ball after he made that mistake. And he threw the ball right down Alabama's throat. Now, Alabama's not an elite defense last year, is what we're led to believe. Okay, well, what about the Michigan game? And he just chunked it all over Michigan and really ran it all over Michigan as well. If you pick up DAWGSTRUCTION today, our 80-page commemorative edition, you're going to get the 2022 preview for free. Make sure you're getting this deal. I'm going to run out of books. I'm going to have to order them. You need to order today in order to get the book very soon. You're going to get 2022 preview. The link is down below for both these. Pick it up today. Do not tarry and miss out on this opportunity. It can't be both in this case. Like, this is a good year for quarterbacks in the SEC. But I think the two that I have the most challenge wrapping my head around, and it might not sound right, but Spencer Rattler, I don't think he's a better quarterback than Stetson. He's not proven that. Okay, now I don't know what he's going to do at Carolina, and he may prove that he is, but I don't think he has with what's happened at OU. I think you can make the case that they're similar quarterbacks. Anthony Richardson, that has to be that's really more egregious than the Spencer Rattler thing. I also think Will Levis is a good quarterback, but that's about. I mean, a slew of these are about potential. Uh, I would say Hendon Hooker and Bryce Young. If you want to make the argument that they're better quarterbacks than Stetson Bennett, then I think you have an argument to be made. KJ Jefferson. I mean, that guy is tough to deal with, but I mean, in terms of straight playing quarterback, I don't know. Will Levis, no. For me, no. Now in the future, yeah. I mean, I would say the bulk of these guys that are not Max Johnson probably have a better future in professional quarterbacking than Stetson Bennett, and maybe Max has got a better future in it. I don't know. Bryce Young certainly does. But what's happening now is um, Stetson is a character actor. That's what he is, and that's what it is. You know, it's okay. but he has been cast into the cool, the neat best friend, the neat story. There are not a lot of highlights showing him running down the field against Michigan. There's not a lot of highlights of him um, doing Alabama dirty in the fourth quarter. There's not a lot of highlights of him throwing the ball to Kyrus Jackson in the corner against the Gators. He did not play well against Florida. There's not a lot of highlights of what he did against Auburn. There's not a lot of highlights. And Stetson, there's bad with Stetson too. I mean, he cannot play like he did this is the offense, generally speaking, cannot play the way they did in the first half against Alabama, and Georgia really expect to be successful. But the truth is, that was not the bulk of the time. A season ago, we were told, we were lectured, we were given Diet Dr. Pepper and Dr. Pepper's PR statements about how DJ Uiagalelei was an exceptional quarterback. That guy sucks. And yet we were reading all this stuff about how, I mean, would you take him over Stetson? Because last year everybody would. I would have. But we're not. We've gotten to the point where it's so stupid um, how far down the list he is. I mean, I think Bryce Young for sure. I think if you want to say Hendon Hooker, and I think if you want to make the case of KJ Jefferson, just because he's so different than the way that Bennett is. Now, Will Rogers at State is a curious case because they throw the ball so much that that might be kind of complicated to this guy's throwing for almost 5,000 yards, 36 touchdowns and 9 interceptions. As much as they throw, that's pretty good. I gotta say. I mean, shit, you're only throwing 9 interceptions. They're probably throwing the ball 40 times a game, 50 times a game. Good God. So, I mean, why isn't Will Rogers higher? I don't know, other than this is what we do, you know, and there are times to criticize, but this has gotten a little silly, I have to say. I mean, Anthony Richardson in front of Stetson Bennett, based off of what? Like based off of, or is this about top 10 quarterbacks in the SEC as it stands right now, or top 10 quarterbacks in the SEC for their professional potential? Because those are not the same thing. I'm old enough to remember when Matthew Stafford was the quarterback at Georgia, and I'm old enough to remember how bad he was in 2016. I also remember that he had some pretty big moments in 2016, in 2006. Excuse me, y'all. Um, you could see it with Matthew. I don't know with some of these guys. I don't. And I watched the A&M Alabama game last night. And Bryce Young made you think he was not the best quarterback in the SEC at times watching that game. So it really is about taking the whole breadth of everything. But Stetson Bennett has 100% been cast as a particular thing, and I think it's going to not matter kind of what happens. He will only be penalized. Anybody who says, "Hey, this guy is really good," it will not be taken seriously, and that's too bad.